We interview interesting people doing interesting things where you can expand your connections, your community. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And let's get this party started. Hey, it's another day for the Pirate Broadcast. Interesting people doing interesting things. And we are excited for this show today. And I just want to thank everyone for being here. If you're in the comments, leave a little note. Let us know where you're coming from. And if you're joining after the fact, let us know what your questions are and see if we can get back to you and answer some of those questions for you. If you want to ask questions in the future episode, drop me a direct message in LinkedIn, connect with me. And today we have Russ in the room. So we got the two Russes in the Pirate Broadcast. And thank you so much for being here, Russ, and being a pirate now.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Pirate status.
Oh, go Russ. You know,
it's nice to go. It's nice to see your face today. And I know you're up in Colorado and you shared a couple of pictures of amazing scenery. And so how's Colorado today?
It's beautiful. You know, it's 330 days of sunshine. It's kind of tedious, you know. Yeah, it's glorious. Really, I grew up in Connecticut and moved my way west. Spent 3 years in St. Louis and then got out here. And man, it's just a great place to live. And the people here, most of the people here moved from somewhere else. And so, you know, it's not it's a pretty open and friendly environment. Just to live, just to go to the coffee shop and people are engaging with each other and nice to each other and all that. It's really a pleasant place to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that, you know, since we're working on the second half of 2020, the first half has been kind of challenging for a lot of folks. And I suspect that you're doing okay and you're safe and sane and everything else is going well.
I don't know about sane, but yeah, we're all good.
Oh, good, good. So I want to dig in a little bit. You know, you got a kind of a interesting history here, and we were talking before the show, and you're a recovering patent attorney. And tell us what that means and how you got here, where you are doing what you're doing today. Because kind of give us a background story on how this evolved, because this is a fascinating subject to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm a recovering patent attorney. I was an engineer for a bunch of years, and went through the patent process a few times when I was part of a big company, and somebody else did all the patent work, and I just did what I'm supposed to do. But then I had an invention that I wanted to sell and license, and so I went to a patent attorney who was on my hockey team, and I got terrible advice. I felt like the meter was running all the time. Yeah. I paid $5,000 to do 2 searches that were terrible. And I was so disappointed with that interaction and the way it worked that I took the patent bar and became a patent agent. And then I worked as and I kind of transitioned from being an engineer with a salary to being a patent agent, where I was working for myself more or less. Then I went to law school when I was older, in my late 30s, and hung out my shingle, went solo, and have been solo for 15, 16, 17 years now. Well, the recovering patent attorney part about it is that as a patent attorney, I have to do whatever you tell me. If you want to patent on that crazy perpetual motion machine that's never going to make money, I have a legal, moral, and ethical obligation to do all that work for you. I'm like, okay, you want this, I've got to go do it. And I'm kind of a hired gun. And so what I do now is I finance the patents, and I do them on a leaseback model. And I treat the patents as collateral. And because I have this financing relationship, I only do patents that have value because I might get stuck with them. And if I get stuck with them, then I have to go sell the patent. So I have to create the patents that are going to have value. So it actually aligns my interests with the client.
So when they win, you win.
Yeah.
So that's a fascinating model. I love the idea. I love the concept of this. So I do that with startups. I do sweat equity and I invest in, helping them get to a certain point and in exchange for some equity in their business.
Yep.
And if they do well and they grow into a business and then that's a revenue stream. So the model is not unfamiliar to me, if I can speak.
Yeah.
But I think it's fascinating the way it's applied in the patents cycle. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that think they need patents. However, you mentioned that earlier that there's not a high percentage that make a lot of money. So you have to be very selective in your process. Yeah.
The patent office says that only 2% of the patents make money. But and maybe it's 95% of the patents are worthless. 5% are good. 20-to-1 odds that you're going to miss on this. So, the one thing about attorneys is that they're not allowed to take equity in the company. Like as marketing or, you're doing engineering work, that's perfectly fine. With attorneys, there's this heightened conflict of interest.
Yeah.
That I have to, if I have a conflict of interest as your attorney, and let's say the company's getting ready to sell and an offer comes in and I'm your attorney and I have, one share of equity, I have to recuse myself of any decision relating to that because I have because I can't do what's right for the company and still have skin, skill. I was going to say skin in the game, but still have some kind of equity in there,
right?
Because you don't know, you don't know if I'm telling you, oh yeah, let's take this deal because I'm behind on my boat payment and I really need the cash today.
Right.
Or if it's the right thing for the business. You can never separate those two. So, that's why attorneys can't take equity, but everybody else can, which is, that's the way it is. That's just the rules. And, like it or not, that's the way it is.
Well, it's one of those things where once you understand the rules, then you can learn where you can work outside the box, right?
Well, yeah.
It's like if you're financing and you're working to help the business grow in a different way, in a unique way, then that affords you the opportunity to help them and be motivated. Same side selling idea, where they win, you win, everybody wins.
Yeah, and if I don't actually deal with their decision of whether or not they want to buy or sell the company.
Yeah,
I'm an outside. Here's the product. Here's the payout. Boom. You can do what you want with it. That's your decision. I don't have a part of that.
So I know that there's so many products and so many people out there creating new things. I mean, Russ, we're living in an age where you can actually start a business with a phone. Starting a business is easy.
True.
And so what is your experience in a product and a patent versus bringing it to fruition versus intellectual property, where it's a concept or a sales process or a certain business process, like let's say like an Uber or a Airbnb or something along those lines. What are some of the things business owners need to think about when they're promoting one idea versus a product. Like you were a patent attorney for the original Otter Box, and how many cases have they sold, and how many phones have they saved in their duration? My son was a huge fan of Otter Box and had one on his phone all the time. He worked construction, and it was indestructible. So talk a little bit about ideas and products.
Patents have value when somebody puts something to use. And, just having the idea of, hey, I'd like to have a case that protects my phone. I'd like the idea of, I don't want my phone to break.
Yeah.
You put it in some kind of tangible form, like a real case on a real phone, there it happened, then that idea turns tangible. For software stuff, if something sits on a user interface on your phone and I can detect it, well, that's a super valuable, that's the right way to protect your quote idea. The most valuable patent in the world, one of them, is Apple's slide to unlock feature on their phone. That's what they used to sue Samsung. And if you think about it, what they did with that invention was they actually saw a problem that nobody else had seen before. Think about before iPhone, every single cell phone had a green button and a red button. I mean, everyone, the old bag phones, the car phones, the brick phones, the flip phone, everything had a green button and red button. And what they said with this is, I'm going to make it so that we have no buttons. And so they're walking into this field that nobody else had seen before. And what was they had the opportunity to say, what's the best solution for that? The most elegant solution for that is this slide to unlock thing.
Yeah.
And those are the valuable patents. Okay. And slide to unlock, that's a software patent. People deride that, but it's a software patent. But it's a problem that nobody has seen before.
Well, that's because nobody had seen a phone without buttons. So
exactly.
It's like a greenfield opportunity where it's like, okay, we have an opportunity here. We're going to change the dynamics of how phones are being used and manipulated in your hand. So we have to protect ourselves in the nuances of how that feature works.
Yeah, but think about, a lot of people have inventions that are just another solution to a known problem.
Right.
I have a different way of, my headphones have a different swivel thing to them. I'm like, oh, okay.
But headphones ultimately are headphones, right? So you're not next level thinking about solving the problem, or
you're not solving a new problem.
Yeah.
You're solving an old problem in a new way, which is way different from solving a new problem that nobody else has seen. And that's where when somebody's at that point where they're seeing that green field that nobody has seen before, then you get a really valuable patent.
Well, that's how Uber has changed the industry, or Airbnb has changed the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Or Groupon, made a huge splash in the market with that, changing the way something was delivered, or something has been changed in the dynamics of the market substantially. And I think those big ideas, there are a lot of big ideas that come to people from time to time, like Otter Box. The gentleman was I think a tool maker, you said.
Yeah, he's actually made plastic injection molds.
Yeah, and so to leap from that idea to making an Otter case for phones that have a new interface is that's a huge stretch in imagination and creativity. And I think I think you mentioned also that, we don't run out of creativity.
Yeah.
Good ideas start creating other good ideas.
Yeah. And that's one of the mistakes that first time inventors or first time entrepreneurs do.
Mm-hmm.
They like, oh, I got this great idea. Oh, I got to get it protected up, protect, because somebody's going to steal it.
Yeah.
And, if you had one good idea, you're going to have another.
Yeah.
And so don't really stress out about getting all kinds of patent protection. Oh, if you had that idea, you're going to have another good one. And the next idea will build on all the knowledge and experience that you have. So the next idea is going to be better. Like it has to be better. So don't mortgage your house on this first one. Maybe the next one, but not the first one.
Well, it's a learning process. You have to grow through this learning process. And, starting a business is not something that is a small undertaking of any kind. Even a small business, there are things you don't know, you don't realize, you have exposure. And that's kind of what the Pirate Broadcast is all about, is, talking to people like yourself that are doing these things so the community can have a resource available. So if you're not connected to Russ, get connected to Russ. And if you have questions, I'm sure you're open to answering questions.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's like, I see Warren in the room now. He was trying to get in earlier. I was trying to answer his question. It's like, so I just want to give a shout out to some of the individuals here, Russ, that are in the room and talking to us. So Wendy's here. No fuss morning. Right. And as the patent attorneys look at life a different way, that perspective probably helps entrepreneurs drastically. I can't disagree with you. And then Warren's in the room. Hello, Warren. How you doing? Wendy. Now, Wendy, Russ, is she helps authors produce their books, their children's books. She does a lot of children's books, and she has a podcast.
Nice.
A wonderful, wonderful person that I truly love. She has a patent. You had to tell us. Awesome. Fantastic. And this is epic, Warren says. So Wendy has a question. How do we stretch our creativity so we see many opportunities from our skills and passions? That's a great question. Would you like to comment on that? Would you like to share some thoughts on that question, Russ?
I think that's kind of a skill that the creativity thing is something that it's a developed skill, and it's a skill that diminishes over time if you don't use it well. There are a lot of techniques to think about, to deconstruct ideas or think about things in the reverse way, or that process of deconstructing an idea and then rebuilding it in a different way, or look at each element and say, well, how can I do that differently? How can I do that differently? Why is this working? Who's affected here? That skill set of tearing apart an idea and rebuilding it leads to incredible amount of insights, but it's something that you have to practice a lot. Yeah. And bouncing it around with other, you mentioned yesterday the mastermind idea. Mm-hmm. Bouncing ideas around with other people, and well, what's your perspective on this? Oh, well, I was thinking about it completely differently. Oh, yeah. I hadn't thought about that.
It's amazing to me that I grew up as a musician and I played music a lot, and it's almost as if when you're creativity, I equate a lot to an instrument. The more you practice it, the more it expands, mm-hmm. and your skill set and your perspective changes over time, and it really has an impact on the way that you think about things and how you see different things. And I think one way that you can stretch your creativity is also by looking at different industries and then thinking about multiple different applications for different industries.
Yeah.
And it's just Otter Box is a perfect example of that. It's okay. You're working on a fishing tackle box, and all of a sudden you design that for the application of
I actually have with the original Otter boxes here.
Share that.
This was back in the 80s or 90s. This is actually one designed for keeping your cigars and stuff. Mm-hmm. And these are still being sold by Otter. This is what was called the Otter Box. Yeah. And Kurt Richardson wanted to take his compact iPack. I mean, if you remember back to the late 90s, he took one of these boxes, cut a hole in it, and built this, which was the very first, and it still has the Otter name on it. Yeah. But it was the very first Otter Box, and you put your phone in, or your personal digital assistant. This is before they had phones. PDA. And this was the very first Otter Box. And so cool. And so he did a version of this, and then he did kind of cleaned it up for linemen, people worked outdoors and that kind of stuff. And he had been in business for 20 or 30 years doing tooling, and then had this thing around for a few years. And then iPhone showed up. Yeah. And if you remember, it was just a piece of junk. You looked at it and it cracked. It was terrible. But he had manufacturing, he had design, he had packaging, he had a brand name, he had distribution
available.
Everything was there, and the perfect storm came, and the rest is history. Yeah. It took him 30 years to get to that point.
Right at the intersection.
Yeah.
As a patent attorney.
So
that's very cool. Let's go back on. Here's some things. So Wendy was saying, there's so many comments here. Thank you so much for everybody. Don't mortgage your house on the first idea. Wendy is saying it's the same for new writers. They worry too much about protecting and not getting coaching. So it's Arcot is here. Hi, Pirates. How is everyone today? Very, very well. Thank you for asking. So
Russ squared.
Yeah, Russ squared. Good morning. Michelle is here in the house. She's in Colorado as well, up your way.
Nice.
So Arcot, happy morning, evening to all. Wendy is saying, I was just going to tell you good morning, Wendy. So that's the beauty of this, Russ, is the community starts getting in here and making conversation. So it's awesome to be here. Answer is practice. Wendy knows. She's a producer. She's done movies and done a lot of productions. I have a patent for a portable pharma lockbox due to overdosing on baby aspirin. Russ can relate. Yeah. Nice. I had my stomach pumped as a child because I was eating candy. It was happening.
Halloween.
So Randy Martin up in Toronto. Happy Canada Day, by the way, for people in Canada yesterday. I sent you a message too, Randy. And so creativity is looking at things in different ways. Absolutely. Wendy squared too. And Con is saying, ahoy, Pirates. Con is a big thinker. He has lots of big ideas and amazing combinations of thoughts. Michelle, that is the coolest evolution of a product. It was right in front of his face. Colorado Springs. All right. So right there. Russ, I just feel, I get the sense that there's a lot of people out there that are on the urge and the verge of, creating something amazing, and they just don't take the steps because they don't know what to do next. Is there any process that you have or any recommendations we can kind of think about in terms of, okay, I have this idea. Do I start a business first? Do I sell it? Do I patent it? What are some ideas that you can share with us that might feed somebody a source of fuel to get their idea out of their head?
You know what you need to do? you need to do something. It really doesn't matter. You need to take a step and get moving. You know, no matter how you get going, you're going to stub your toe. You're going to make some mistakes. And, you know, I can sit here and tell you, oh, don't do this, don't do this. And you're like, oh, yeah. How many people have told me, don't do something? And then I'm like, oh, well, yeah, that won't happen to me. And then, you know, like, oh, geez, now I understand. And you know what? I think the absolute most important thing is get moving. Just get going.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you, if you think a patent is the right thing to do, you know, I'll call you. If you call me, I'll try to talk you out of it. And what I'll try to do is say, find out if the customer really wants this thing. You know, you think it's a great idea, and then you're going to tell me, oh, well, nobody's doing this. Well, that's a very good data point. That means that 7 billion people don't think that this is a good idea. So go out and figure out if other people like the idea, if they think it's important. And if they do,
there's two factors there, because I've created a lot of things that people say is a good idea, and they're unwilling to pay money for it.
Yeah. You know, I'll give a shout out to one of my favorite PDF books online. It's called The Mom Test. And I've recommended to everybody. It's how do you ask a question of a customer? How do you ask a question where your mom is going to tell you the truth? You know, you bring home that artwork and she says, oh yeah, it's wonderful. We'll put it on the refrigerator. But you know, how do you ask the customer what that real problem is? You can ask people all day long and they'll say, oh yeah, that's really wonderful, Russ. And then, well, did you write a check? No, no, but I think somebody else will. Like, no, that's not real. If somebody writes you a check, it's real.
First in line either.
Sorry?
A lot of people don't want to be the first one in line.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, it's a great idea. I think it might work. However, go test it out on, you know, it's like Eric Ries in the minimal viable product, you know, the lean startup concept is like make something, like you said, make something that people have an example of. And then if people like it and they invest in it and they're willing to use it in some way, shape, or form, then you can build on that effort.
Yeah.
So it's a concept.
If people tell you, you know, say that's a great idea, take it with a grain of salt. If people hand you a check or give you their credit card, then they believe in it. And until they really believe in it, it's possible, you know, but just go out and try selling the product. And, you know, and that's the most important piece. Don't worry about all the other nonsense. Stub your toe on the way, learn the process, and plan on doing another product. Plan on, you know, seeing where it leads and spinning out on the, you know, with Otter Box, Kurt built a product, this box that he wanted so he could put fishing tackle in and it wouldn't sink when he was out fishing.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, I want to take my phone with me. Well, it wasn't a phone at the time, but, then he said, well, I'll try this out. And then, you know, that's how things work. You follow that path, wherever that path leads. But the absolute most important thing is start.
I love that.
It doesn't matter what you do. Just do it and keep moving.
So if people want to connect to you and ask you questions or investigate their ideas to take to the next level, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
LinkedIn's great.
Okay.
My website is blueironip.com.
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 What's the history behind that name, by the way?
I wanted something with a color, and I wanted something that was strong. And I don't know, I just found it.
I like it. It's just
it's kind of arbitrary, but you know, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and you know, I'm happy to to chat about an idea and see if it's going to be good for IP protection or not.
Yeah.
I will tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Like I will tell you, don't get a patent
Yeah.
most of the time. But there's or how to reform the idea in a way that might be protectable or not. But
well, I think to your point though, Russ, is get started. I mean, you can grow and develop a very productive and profitable business from ideas without a patent. I mean,
absolutely.
Not dependent on the other. So,
one of my clients sells spatulas on Amazon. Okay, spatulas. We're not talking about some super nice, PhD physics projects. He sells spatulas.
Yeah.
And he does fine with them. It doesn't have to be some whiz bang thing. It can be just eminently practical.
Yeah. People need things to work through life.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be sexy or the next next iPhone.
Yeah. Right? TechCrunch and angel investors, all that stuff. Yeah, it could be. Most people they're in their garage just kind of grinding out a nice little product that makes money for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I truly appreciate the fact that you joined us today and brought some
It's been a lot of fun
and interest into the Pirate Broadcast. It's this patent idea, and I've ventured down that path and looked at different things and created so many things that it just didn't quite develop into what you imagined it would be. And the idea that it's not your baby, it's not your child, it's something that can change and evolve, and new ideas can be planted and things can evolve. So thank you so much for bringing this to the table. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Oh, Mike, how do you not like a guy named Russ? I got to work on my beard though.
Yeah, you got it started there. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being in the room. I just love the both Russ characters freely sharing knowledge. That's awesome. Robert Spur, how about securing a name of a product first? Robert, Bob and I used to work together up in Seattle. So it's like, how about securing the name of the product first?
How about figuring out if somebody really wants it?
Yeah.
And then definitely get the name, figure out your branding and stuff. But make sure that this thing's, it's going to be worth further investment. Yeah.
This is good. If it doesn't work, do something else. Easy. Someone created Snuggles. It's like,
yeah.
Anything is possible, right?
Amen.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Russ. I really appreciate it. I just love the fact that we can actually generate some ideas. This is the whole point of the Pirate Broadcast community and the pirate community overall is, drop in, ask a question, get an answer, have a conversation, and make sure that that kindness is cool, smiles are free, and you enjoy the day. Thanks, Russ. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining the Pirate Broadcast. If you found this content valuable, please like, comment, and share it across your social media channels. I would love the opportunity to help others grow in their business. The Pirate Syndicate is a platform where you show up, we produce the show. It's that easy. If you want to be seen, be heard, and be talked about, join the Pirate Syndicate today.